where that single window is right there? If you look at the color of the brick there, and then you look at the color of the brick right here. Do you see any difference there?
Yeah.
Huh?
One's more weathered than the other.
That is because when this school was built, it was built as a high school, White Springs High School, and it was built around 1937-38 by President Roosevelt's Work Projects Administration, or Public Works Administration. It was called the PWA or the WPA. It was part of his New Deal, Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was the only American president to be president he was elected for the 4th consecutive term, but he didn't serve out the 4th consecutive term because the Second World War was going on. But he had this school built, and you can see where the brick changes color. This wing over here was built first. This whole wing over here was built first. It was the first part of the school to be built. And they closed the old school, which was over on River Street, and people walked on a trail through here, and they came to this part of the building. And then the following year, they finished up this section, so you see a different color of brick there. Second grade teacher, Mr. Law, second grade teacher, Miss Pinella, second grade teacher, the second grade teacher of so many here in White Springs. This is where she lived, Miss Virginia Johnson Daniel, and her father. At one time there was a bank that was located right over here on this lot on the front street where Dr. Houston's office. Years, and he built this home, her family, the Robart family built this home. Originally it was just one story, and they added the second story to it later on. I think it was built, let's see what the sign says here, 1903, okay? And this was a part of town that didn't burn up when the fire of 1911 came. You know, part of this did not burn down. On the far end of town, there's a big house down there where the mayor lives called the Dr. Benjamin Franklin Camp House. And it was built by the Camp family when they came to White Springs. They came here from Franklin, Virginia, and they came because they owned a big lumber mill here in White Springs. They owned a lot of timber property, and they had a gentleman who worked for them, a Mr. Johnson. And he built these houses as tenant houses at that particular time. The people who lived here worked primarily in the Camp sawmills, just like the ones who lived over where Mr. Pablo and all of them lived. Those were houses. Now, the two across the street over there, that house is called Adams Brothers General Store. Now, you look on the front of it, and it says Adams Country Store. Never was called that. It was always called Adams Brothers.
Look here, if you wanted to go to the central or southern part of Florida, you would go and look on the kiosk for information. So why don't you look and see if there's something that you want to learn about? Come on, walk on. We'll look at this later. Let's go. See, that's what kinds of sports department. Quickly.
Whoa! Oh, big old pool.
Every day they filled this pool up with water from the river. They didn't have any filtering system in it. They drained it, and Mother wouldn't let us swim in there because there wasn't any filtering system. We had to... Big Harden? Huh? Yeah, that hose been there for a long time. But that was the wall that was built by...
Look at your two sides before we go up. Stand, Jamie, you're going to stand back to
It tells you a story here. It tells you it says even before a township grew to the 1800s, White Sulphur Springs was deemed healing ground by Native Americans. That means Indians. I think 1821, waves of settlers from Georgia and the Carolinas immigrated to north central Florida. While most of the earliest settlers in and around White Springs were subsistence farmers, the timber and phosphate booms also brought a variety of investors, and that happened around the 1860s. So, 1960s. The early 1960s was when Occidental Chemical Corporation came in here, the mid-60s, and started the phosphate mining. But over here across the street is the Adams house that was built in 1893. This one right here, Mr. Telford brought from his native state, I think it was Indiana, and he brought it because he wanted a reminder of where he was from. So when he built the hotel, he had this piece of rock put in right here to remind him what it was. I don't know what kind of rock it is, but you can see it's different from this right here, and that was the reason he had that put in.